In history of nations, few discoveries are as fateful as striking oil. December 14, 1922, Maracaibo Basin, Venezuela. The day oil flowed out of Venezuela. Within 7 years, Venezuela became the world's largest oil producer and exporter. Exports exploded 137-fold. Money came in, and like all petrostates, Venezuela became heavily dependent on oil. Economists call it the Dutch disease. It happens when revenues increase in a specific growing sector, like natural resources. The currency of the country becomes stronger compared to other foreign countries. Hence, the country's other resources exports like agriculture become too expensive. It is cheaper to import instead. These other sectors sadly die, making the country import driven. This is the summary of Venezuelan economy. The social contract, where government serves its people in exchange for their labor and taxes, never form. Instead, a patronage state is born, where power is flowed to whoever controls the tap. For decades, that power was shared by a corrupt elite. Under the Punto Fio Pact, an estimated $100 billion was embezzled between 1972 and 1997. People could see the wealth. For most, it was mirage. Production was peak in 1970 at 3.5 million barrels a day, a height it will never see again. The nation was deluded by oil, and when the price crashed in 1980s, oh boy, chaos will ensue. During the oil crisis, the charismatic army officer Hugo Chavez was seen as hope. He was elected in 1998. Although he turned the state into a welfare state, he did not reduce dependence on oil. His two policies were crucial that shaped the country. Petrocarib, using the oil as a geopolitical tool to buy allies in Caribbean region. Secondly, after a strike against him in 2002, he purged the state oil company PDVSA. He fired off thousands of experienced engineers and managers. During highest oil price in history, Venezuela production lowered by 66%. Things were only downhill from this point on. When Chavez passed away in 2013, he left Nicolás Maduro to succeed him. What followed was the worst economic collapse outside of war. GDP was shrank by 75%. Hyperinflation hit 130,000%. Venezuela had to import gasoline. 7 million people fled the country. Worst migration crisis of Venezuela. The 2024 presidential elections. The opposition, despite being banned and harassed, united behind a candidate. The official result gave Maduro 51%. The opposition claimed they won by 67%. A poll said 93% of Venezuelans believed Maduro had lost. Maduro regime conducted Operation Tantan. Thousands of arrests, couple dozen terminated. The opposition fled the country. You can't invade a country over an election. The 21st century playbook is more sophisticated. First, a legal pretext, a threat to national security. By late 2024, Trump regime had formally labeling Venezuela a narco-state. The cartel of the Suns, was more than a crime gang. It consisted of high-ranking military officials, like private army. Now, this wasn't about democracy anymore. It was about narco-terrorism, a direct threat to American streets. Remember, Trump had put a bounty on Maduro. Phase 1, Maritime, September 2025 onwards. Over 20 US strike on alleged drug running boats. A message: we can hit you and you cannot respond. Phase 2, Economic, December 25. Naval blockade sanctioned oil tankers captured. It was to cripple the regime financially. Phase 3, Escalation, December 30. Drone strike on Venezuelan ports, the first on Venezuelan soil. January 3, 2026. This year. Operation Absolute Resolve. It wasn't a broad invasion. It was a brief, sharp, high value target raid carried out by Delta Force and CIA paramilitary teams, guarded by air assets deployed on Caracas. One thing to note is notice how there wasn't any mass retaliation against the raid. Venezuela is equipped with decent gear, Sukhoi jets, S-300 air defense, but no retaliation. Also, Maduro relied on Cuban personnel instead of national army. Does it indicate a inside job? It does look like it. After having captured Maduro and his wife, they were taken to New York court. Back in Caracas, former Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in. Trump declared US would run Venezuela until its oil could flow freely again. The Western Hemisphere was back in the hand of United States. The Monroe Doctrine was revoked. So the strong man is gone. The operation was tactical success. But has the curse been lifted? The oil infrastructure is in ruins. 7 million refugees won't return overnight. China and Russia have lost billions and a key ally in Americas. We began with the deal with the devil in 1922. A century later, after revolution, collapse, fraud, and finally a military raid, Venezuela is free of one man. But is it free of dependency, the corruption, and the geopolitical background its oil created? I leave it to you. Please comment what's your thought on the video and please subscribe if you can if you like the video.